Oh! Throughout all the ages of the human race, mankind asked itself one question. How to collaborate effectively and share meaningful information. But there is an answer. Novo Pro. Discover a new way to share ideas. Now you can have a fast Wi-Fi connection from multiple devices at the same time to one central projector or display. Novo Pro basically acts as a wireless cable. There is also an option to use a USB launcher for hassle-free instant guest connections. No software needed. Add up to 64 users simultaneously in client mode and share a projection screen with 4 devices at the same time. Using Novo Pro, everyone can now contribute to the meeting. Novo Pro. Make it simple. Make a connection. Truly collaborate.
Good evening. It is Tuesday night, and of course, then it is for Anglers Live. Welcome in the studio, and welcome to all the viewers out there in a nice and cold South Africa, with the fronts starting to come through. The guys down at the Cape Town, wet and cold weather. Maar ons is nie bang nie, ons vang vis. En ek wil net eerstens sê, baie dankie vir Orion Audio Visual, wat vir dit vir ons moontlik maak, dat ons 'n studio het waarmee ons met julle kan gesels. We've got a very special guest tonight in our midst, in the studio, Christopher Pelser. Welcome, Christopher, and thanks for coming here to share some knowledge and some good information and learning experiences.
No, that is only my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's awesome to have a chat with you guys.
Okay, nou, ons sal hom 'n bietjie later beter bekendstel, maar Christopher Pelser is, toe ek regtig nou hard gehengel het, was Christopher so 'n klein ouetjie so wat saam met sy pa by die dam rondgehardloop het, en ek het hom sien groot word langs die water, and I also was privileged to seeing him going through the provincial colours and up to national level and into the teams that started making headways and winning at World Championships. So he's in his own right an esteemed angler and a protea guy with a young guy with lots of experience. So we're going to chat to him about a couple of interesting things, and especially about what fish eat and what makes them fat and what is good for them and what not. Nou ja, kom ons gesels nou 'n bietjie verder. Ons het in die week, het ons nou met oom Cyril het met ons gepraat Sondag aand, en ons het gehoor, daar is 'n bietjie impak op ons hengel, en ons het met Andries Marie, die president van SASAC, gaan gesels. So, ons gaan dit nou nie hierin sit nie, dis reeds op ons Facebook bladsy, maar gaan kyk gerus op Bank Anglers, Stywelyne, For Anglers, al ons Facebook bladsye, of as jy 'n lid is op For Anglers, gaan kyk net in die feed, en jy kan die onderhoud gaan kyk wat ek met Andries gedoen het, om presies vir ons te sê, hoe kan ons hengel, wat moet ons doen, wat word toegelaat in terme van georganiseerde hengel, wat gebeur oor die grense heen, ensovoorts. So gaan kyk gerus. Nou kom ons kyk gou, nou natuurlik baie dankie vir Gys Spitzer Motors, hulle is die hoofborg van hierdie program, baie dankie dat julle vir ons wiele gee, sodat ons by die water kan uitkom en vir ons kykers goeie content kan gee en vir ons lesers goeie artikels. Wat gee ons alles weg? Ons het 'n paar interessante goedjies vanaand. Daar is ook 'n groot hand. So die heel eerste ding is 'n lekker supercast hamper, 'n klompie dippies en okay, kom ons praat oor die groot prys. Die Boatman ZI Actor Basic gee ons weg vanaand. Ons het hom vir 4 weke geadverteer, en ons gaan hom weggee vanaand vir 'n gelukkige kyker. Dan die volgende ene is die Legends hamper wat ons gaan weggee. Daar's hy. Hy is hier, dit is 'n opvolg van laasweek, is die ander helfte van daardie prysie. En ons gee 2 van hierdie paste, Barend noem dit crazy of Carb paste. Hier is 'n crazy coconut en 'n Armageddon. Is 'n almond peanut en 'n klompie dips wat ons weggee daar. Daardie spesifieke prys word op die YouTube kanaal gegee. Dan die volgende ene is die Supercast hamper. Hom gaan ons weggee op Facebook en hy is volgende en daar's 'n paar lekker dips en ook 'n paar ander losgoedjies onder andere vir ons above. Goed, dan is daar ook, nou natuurlik met ons spesiale gas in die ateljee, het van True Feed se kant af, gee ons, is nou so 'n bietjie meer as hierdie is nou net 2 sampeltjies, maar ons gee 'n lekker vet pakkie weg, van pellets en Feed Enhancer wat ons doen. Ons gaan 'n bietjie later praat oor dit, en dan gaan julle mooi verstaan. So ons gaan hom weggee op Facebook ook. So, dit is die goedjies wat ons vanaand weggee, so kom ons gaan sommer heel eerste oor. Nou, wat moet jy hê? Jy moet die stywe lyne hê. Nou, kom ons kyk net gou. Daar's 2 tydskrifte van ons op die rak op die oomblik. Hierdie ouetjie is nog vir so 'n maand. Ons is nou besig om te werk aan die nuwe Bank Angler wat in die begin van Augustus gaan beskikbaar wees. So julle het nog 'n maand om hierdie ouetjie te kry. Volgepak vir al groot karphengel en winterhengel, baie interessante artikels. Wat ook interessant is hier is 12 van die bestes, al die winterkombinasies wat die topmanne vir ons gegee het. Ons gaan nie vanaand iets vra daai uit nie. Die ene wat hierdie week die rak gestaan het, is die stywe lyne. Nou die stywe lyne het 'n paar pragtige artikels in, onder andere artikel oor die wêreld vlieghengel karprekord by Harties. En dit is so half asof die stywe lyne hierdie maand gededicate is, as ek die Engelse woord kan gebruik, vir dames en dameshengel, want daar's 'n paar baie interessante artikels wat deur dames gedoen is, en ook 'n lekker diepsee artikel vir die dames, en die klomp girls het gefish, hoor, julle moet gaan kyk. Maar nou ja, ons gaan 'n paar vrae hier uit, so maak seker jy het hom by jou gereed, sodat jy die antwoorde kan kry hier. Nou ja, kom ons gaan dadelik dan oor na die eerste, onthou nou, as jy in die vorige 4 weke deel was van hierdie vraag en antwoord en jy het gewen, gee nou die ander ouens 'n kans. Jy gaan in elk geval, Jessica, gaan jou screen daar, jy gaan nie weer kan land in die top nie. Die eerste 10 regte antwoorde wat ons kry, gaan op die wiel en aan die einde van die program spin ons die wiel en ons gee dan daardie wenner sy prysie. Al ons pryse wat hier is, word met trots afgelewer deur JKJ Express koeriers en hulle maak seker dat die pryse by julle uitkom. Goed, die eerste vraag, en dit gaan hierin, is 'n baie interessante artikel oor grootbek geelvishengel, wat deur Bernard, waar is hy nou? Wat deur Bernard geskryf is, Bernard Venter. Nou, hulle het van der Kloofdam gaan hengel en 'n lekker paar verrassings gekry hier. So nou hier in hierdie artikel is daar 'n paar bulle wat gevang is en ek wil weet, wat is die naam van die persoon wat in hierdie artikel die grootste grootbek geelvis gevang het vir die trip? Moenie weet wat hy weeg nie. Ek wil net weet, wie is die man met die grootste vis wat hier staan? Nou ja, dis die eerste ene en hy hardloop op Facebook, so jy moet nie op YouTube gaan antwoord vir hom nie, jy moet op Facebook gaan antwoord. Eerste 10 ouens wat die regte antwoord gee, sy naam kom in die hoed. Kom ons gaan hoor wat sê Jessica en haar span oor wat se juwele kan ons in die tydskrifte en op die webwerf vir anglers, die digitale netwerk wat hengel lewendig hou, gaan kry. Kom ons hoor wat sê Jessica's Gems.
Stywe lyne se Julie-Augustus uitgawe is nou in die winkels beskikbaar. As jy 'n intekenaar is, het jy dit reeds ontvang. Welana Oosthuizen is op die voorblad met 'n queenfish wat vrygelaat is tydens die Ratel Dames diepsee kompetisie by St. Lucia. Daarin gaan jy die artikel lees hoe 14 bote vol dames die diepsee aangedurf het en met mooi vangste kon spog. 15-jarige Mia van Pretoria het die wenvis gevang, 'n alamintige 20,92 kg wahoo. Verskeie fasette van hengel is hierin, onder andere 'n karp wat in harties gevang is op vlieg en nou wag om as wêreldrekord geregistreer te word. Ons bespreek 2 oorde, Maselspoort by Bloemfontein en Cast and Catch by Rodeplaadam. Die uitgawe is propvol wenke, avontuur en lekker leesstories, so ook foto's van vangste deur julle as lesers ingestuur. Dit en nog baie meer. Moet dit nie misloop nie. Tot volgende week. Stywe lyne.
Heel eerste kyk ons na 'n post uit die bankangler uit. Neville Ford vertel ons meer oor al die voordele wat die veiligheidstrop vir die oeverhengelaars inhou en wys ons hoe om een te bou. Volgende kyk ons na 'n artikel in die Junie digitale tydskrif. Hier het Jan Henry Sinclair by Skippy Skeepers gaan inloer om te kyk hoe en waar alles in sy kas werk, as ook watter tipe dip sy aanhou. Om al die gems wat julle die week gesien het te lees, scroll af op die homepage tot by Jessica's Gems. Lekker lees en sien julle weer volgende week.
Baie dankie aan Supercast wat vir ons hierdie insetsel wat nou volg moontlik maak. En baie welkom aan almal wat so lekker saam met ons kuier. Daar was 'n vraag of 2 gewees rondom die kompetisies. Kom ons sê net vir julle presies hoe dit werk. Ons het 2 kompetisies of 2 tipe kompetisies. Die eerste ene is, ons noem dit die kykerskompetisie. En dit is net vir julle wat lewendig kyk saam met ons op hierdie stadium. These viewers competitions are only for the guys that are live on the show, and we are saying thank you that you are live and you can partake in the live competition. So these hampers that we are giving away, and there are 3 of them, they are for everybody that is live on the show. And the first 10 answers go into the wheel. Now, if you've won that for the next 4 weeks, you cannot win again in that category. Then we have another category of prizes, and that's members' prizes. That's for everybody that is part of 4 Anglers family. So you can say it's a family prize. The actor bite boat that we are giving away is part of the family prizes. These 2 competitions are not connected. So if you've won here and you're in the draw for that, because you're an annual member, you're still in the draw. It doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just this competition for the viewers that are live that we limit, that you put you in the dog box for 4 weeks if you were a winner, just to give the other guys a chance. Now, there's also another competition that we'll talk about later, which is also a family comp that we are giving away next week. Okay, but let's start off. Christopher, I see fish food here. I'm also having koi's and I'm feeding koi's and things like that. And in Carb Angler magazine specifically, we've spoken at length about quality of food, quality of products that goes into boilies, and the term HNV, high nutritional value, comes up every time. So what is it about food and feed that is important and that is good for fish, and what isn't?
Sure. Okay, so when it comes to high nutritional value, it becomes important for us to consider 2 things. The one is, what species of fish are we dealing with? In this case, we're talking about carb pellets for carp angling, and the koi carp are of the same family, so it'll be a similar application. Effectively, what we want to do is to ensure that we've got the correct balance of protein, carbohydrates, fats, amino acids, trying to keep fiber low. These are a few of the components that we want to be thinking about when we're formulating feed. So with the products that we've developed here for you guys, that we're sharing with you here today, we used world-class nutritionists to work on this product. to ensure that we've got the exact balance for the fish species that we're trying to grow, in this case, carp. And what happens is carp are really, really intelligent. It'll surprise you how quickly they change their behavior.
And they choose what they want to eat.
They choose what they want to eat quite quickly because it's sort of a first principle thing for the fish. The fish finds a new food source, it eats this food source, it feels a certain way. It feels energized, it feels healthy, it feels that it's got a maximum food nutritional return for effort exerted. So if it was hunting crabs in the rocks, say, for example, it would be working really hard, moving around and find a crab and continue. Where when you've got the perfect balance of the elements I mentioned earlier packaged in one product, and it becomes easy for the fish to return maybe to the same area to find the product. It's very, very low effort for the energy gain for the fish. And therefore, they change their behavior and evolve to their new environment with the introduction of a high-quality food source.
So it's not much different to humans. It's exactly the same.
It's very similar. I often think about my bodybuilding days when I'm dealing with these products and when I'm thinking about formulating products for fish. It is a science. There is a textbook, to learn from. You can use highly skilled individuals as we have. And then it's just about executing, the world-class information you've got access to.
So in terms of what food we give fish, let's talk about carp. So a type of pellet or some food that we give them is good for them and it makes them grow faster and it's what they look for and it's high nutritional value. What about other things? They also eat other things. And we in South Africa, we feed the maize. So we put tons and tons and tons of mealies into the dams over a period of a year in the form of mealie balm. What about that? Is that good or is it bad? Or do they eat it?
I mean, clearly they eat it. We all know that. But the question is the fish getting the most return out of that nutrients that it could get in comparison to something else? So in this case, we're feeding with maize, which means the fish still has to do a lot of hard work going to look for protein sources. Just like when we're at home, if we ate only carbohydrates the whole time, we wouldn't be very healthy. So the idea is the benefit of bringing the protein components into the feed means that you're selling a wholesome meal to the fish. You're allowing the fish to come in for a packaged product, where on the maize side, it's good for fish, especially in the winter months. For carp specifically, it helps them put on a good winter weight. So I definitely won't say maize is a bad thing to feed fish. But what I am saying is if you want to achieve optimal growth and optimal health, you want to have a balanced offering to the fish.
Do you think that fish tends to be full of nonsense sometimes?
Oh, for sure. I think we all know as anglers, sometimes the fish are very finicky. There's a number of reasons for that. I'm actually learning so much more that I'm in the aquaculture space now as to how is a fish's feeding rate affected by something like water temperature? How sensitive is a fish to that? On the fish farm, say, for example, where we grow some carp, I can see that in the winter months, I feed a lot less. The fish's feed intake is heavily reduced compared to the summer months where they're eating machines and just passing product through them constantly.
There's a cut-off temperature, and I know with the koi's, it's almost as if they eat out of habit and not eat out of need, because I think if water temperature is below 12 or 13 or something like that, around 10, it doesn't really matter because they don't consume or they don't verteer nie die kos.
Yeah, so something that's important to understand is, the fish is just like any living organism. Inside of its gut, there are many living organisms that are performing work to make the food digestible to the fish. And what happens is it's actually these organisms that are working at a slower rate at a lower water temperature.
Okay, so they also go into hibernation.
Yeah, well, they slow down. Yeah. So everything just slows down. And, the fish will still feed, especially the bigger fish will be forced to continue feeding even at 9 degrees Celsius. But, they're only going to feed when they really have to keep themselves going.
are there bad foods, or are there things that we can apply in a poor manner that can be bad for fish?
For sure. So something we really need to be conscious of is feeding raw particles has never been a good idea. Although there's a lot of articles out there saying that you can feed fish raw particles if soaked, but there's some big no-nos. So say, for example, your peanuts, they can be lethal to the fish if not cooked. So you definitely want to cook your products. Preferably, that's the right way to go. And the digestibility of products are improved substantially by cooking them. So, you were saying what is bad. For sure, raw peanuts is bad. I would say followed by raw particles. Those two are things I would
Especially
heavily...
mealies or something. So chucking in, to make a feed spot, chucking in 20 kilograms or a bag of raw dry mealies will be bad.
That would not be advised. And there are many fisheries in Europe, so for example, where you would be banned and never return, pulling a move like that.
Why? What happens to the fish?
So you've got conflicting opinions. Some people say that when the fish eats the product and it hasn't been soaked for long enough or hasn't been cooked, it swells in the fish's gut. The fish can't pass the product, and it bloats up, it blocks up, and once it's blocked up, then you're in serious trouble, and that fish ends up dying. So this is one story that is out there.
And that's just physics. So it's just the particles takes up water, it swells, and if you have so much raw material going into a gut and it swells up and it gets water, it becomes so much. And it's just a physical thing.
Yeah, a physical
blockage.
blockage.
Microbiological and enzymes and toxins like in peanuts, what happens there?
So in peanuts, it gets risky because I'm not sure what the exact term is, what's in the peanut, but there's something in the peanut that when you cook it, you destroy whatever is in the product that is harmful to the fish. So the high temperature is what neutralizes that. But definitely, guys, please do not feed raw particles. Even with our pellets that we make, they go through an extruder. So they are cooked as they're made versus something more like a Haas pellet, which hasn't been cooked.
Cold pressed.
A cold pressed product.
So the cooked, the hot extruded or the cooked extruded pellet is the better one. Doesn't matter which one, it's just the better.
There's a reason why every fish farm in the world uses extruded pellets. It is the healthiest product for the fish. It is the most digestible to the fish, the lowest risk of fish health. Extruded products are definitely the way to go. And I mean, you can see it with your koi food. You're feeding extruded pellets to your koi.
That's something that is interesting. And in the winter, we feed different things to the koi than what we do in the summer. In the summer, we do growth, and in the winter, we do color. So we do the color enhancers and those type of things. And so it's slower, it's less, it's more concentrated. So they clearly, by season, need something different.
For sure. So in the winter months, you don't need as high protein percentage diets as you would have in the summer months. And especially leading into the spawn, you want to have very high protein food. The fish are really after that protein.
And they're going to pick it out.
They're going to pick it out. They're looking for it. So once they get on that bait, that's high protein source, they won't move off it.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let's go to the next point. Kom ons gee weer weg. Hoe gaan dit daar? Ek hoop daar's al 10 ouens wat al reeds antwoorde reg het daar. Ek hoop julle het regte antwoord. Ek hoop ons het 'n bietjie moeiliker vrae gevra. Die volgende insetsel of die volgende kompetisie wat ons gaan hardloop is op YouTube. So now you have to tune into YouTube, the 4 Anglers YouTube channel. If you are watching there, this competition is just for you. En wat gee ons weg daar? Hierdie pragtige hamper, baie dankie vir Legends, dat julle vir ons hierdie hamper gee. Paar baie interessante, kan ek sê geure? As ek nou so kyk na al hierdie goed, Christopher, dan moet vis verseker vol nonsens wees. Hier is iets baie interessant. Maximus en Maximus River. Now that's specifically higher protein, it's an oil. So
I was just going to comment on that. At the Nile, I'm actually catching the carp quite well on Maximus.
Oh, yes, and I had it in my box this weekend and I didn't use it.
Oh, maybe next time, eh?
Maybe next time. We're going back there. Okay, kom ons gee hom weg. Die antwoord is hierin. En julle sal sien op die voorblad is 'n pragtige groot vis. Dit is 'n karp wat gevang is. En hy's op vlieghengelmetode gevang by Harties. En dit is 'n wêreldvlieghengel rekord. So it's a record fish caught on fly. I want to know, what is the weight of that fish? So hoeveel proteïene het daai vis geëet om so groot te word? Harties is full of protein, eh?
Yeah, big
Bloodworm.
bloodworm. It's also known for, I think it's fly hatches and the scum lines that it has in there. Clearly there's something in there that's making those fish grow, because we see year on year better and better results coming out of the venue.
In the past 2 weeks, there's a couple of 16, 17s that
I was
came out.
shocked. I mean, I saw some guys going catching multiple fish over 17 kilos for a trip on a weekend. You know, I mean, that's really unbelievable result.
Okay, so ek wil weet, wat was daardie karp vlieghengel rekord, wêreldrekord se gewig? Eerste 10 ouens wat daardie vraag reg het, julle is in die wiel om te spin. Nou gaan ons interessante gesprek hê. Ons praat Performers Corner. En met wie gaan ons praat daar? Ons was die afgelope naweek by die Nyl en ons gaan nou spesifiek 'n bietjie later praat oor die kos, en Christopher gaan met ons deel oor 'n baie suksesvolle program wat by die Nyldam geloods is, en die hoeveelheid vis en die kondisie van die vis ensovoorts is uitstekend daar. So hierdie naweek het een van ons gereelde performers het natuurlik weer 'n ongelooflike sak van oor die 100 kg gevang. Hy staan ook, ek dink sy rekord by Promania se meester staan op 120 kg. Ons kyk wat sê Dean Pelser. Hy het ook op die tweede dag 'n paar leerervarings om met ons te deel. Well, we are here at the Promania at the Nile Biodiversity Offset Area, and it's been quite an interesting weekend. Dean Pelser here next to me. Yesterday he was first in his zone, and he was also overall first. Dean, you had a great day yesterday. You had 42 fish, how many kilos?
114 kilos.
114 kilos, that's a massive bag of fish. Let's just talk about yesterday. What did you do right and what made the difference?
So Werner, like you and I have chatted about this venue before. Yesterday I was into bigger fish on average relative to what everyone else was catching. And I think that's just what made the game changing for me. Did the true feed in the pellets yesterday, did the Sinner one, same storyline that you and I have fished here many times before. The difference I had yesterday was at the distance that I was fishing 95 yesterday. I had a nice hard bottom. I was fishing beyond most everyone else in my zone, and I was getting the bigger fish at the back. And it was a good day. I lost a couple of fish yesterday, but nothing significant. Moving on to today, totally different story. I think there's a couple of things I learned out of today as well. But first and foremost, when we started this morning, before the competition started, I was throwing a lead. You might have seen me throwing a lead.
Yes, we also did the same.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we were just on the peg next to Dean here, and we battled away with him.
So I was throwing the lead this morning, and from the first cast, I said to Lapis, I don't like this. He said, what's wrong? I said, we've got silt. And, at the distance, I like to fish the venue under these type of circumstances. We were in quite thick silt. And when I say quite thick silt, that when I cast and I actually take the rod, you've got to pull it to get it out of the silt. And I think the mindset immediately is, what now? In the carp facet, it's easy to sort out those type of things. But when you're doing the bank angling side of things, you can maybe go to a boerstrop and stuff like that. But when you're fishing a one-hook rule, it's not quite what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think from the onset, my mindset was wrong. Given that I knew the distance I actually wanted to fish, I couldn't fish today.
Yeah.
So then I started fiddling at all sorts of other different distances. The fish weren't showing, So the fish weren't telling us where they were.
It was dead. The
Yeah.
water was just, normally you could see some fish around, but you couldn't see anything.
And I often tell people, you catch fish with your eyes.
Yeah.
Look where they are. Let them tell you where they want to feed, and then go catch them. So I had to make a call. And the call I made was, I said, okay, well, 55 meters, I could feel the bottom was reasonably hard, and I did my feeding on that spot, and I spent a lot of time fishing that spot. The second mistake I made today, there was young fish today. It wasn't the big fish of yesterday. And I didn't drop on the hook size. So often I was getting the reel runs, fish on, fish off, fish on, fish off. And at a stage I said to Lapis, because Lapis was sitting with me today and he was landing more fish, and he was using far smaller hooks than I was using. And by which time you're like 4 or 5 hours into the match already, you can see what's happening around you, and it becomes quite disencouraging to adapt. I did, however, at halfway say to Lapis, look, I think I've seen what's wrong. I think I know what I need to do. Changed over, same bait as yesterday.
Yeah.
No difference in the bait. Just where I found the fish. Once I found the fish, then I started to come through much better this afternoon. It's too late.
Lapis caught a couple of lunkers. He had bigger fish.
Yeah.
What did he do different?
So that was also quite interesting, especially in the afternoon. You saw in the afternoon session you got the bigger fish. So in the morning he was trying all sorts of floaties and does and whatever else. But this afternoon I'd made a back in. And I said to him, what does he think of this back in? And he said, no, he likes it. And he started putting that back in on like good old Vaal Dam, popgooi, when it's not floaty does.
Yeah.
And he was putting the back in on behind it.
Behind what? Behind the floaty?
Well, he was doing both, behind a dough and behind a floaty.
Oh, so he had a dough with a backing or a floaty with a backing?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
same, center one on the ball,
Yeah.
same, no change. And you know how frustrating it is when you're sitting next to someone like that, they're borrowing your bait.
And they catch all the big ones.
They're out fishing you. And it's just a question of where are you fishing on the bottom at this dam?
Yeah.
If you get the bottom right, and you and I have spoken about that on bottom many times before here, you get your bottom right, you're going to catch a bag full of fish.
Yeah, we also lost a couple of fish, and yesterday was better. Yesterday we could get them in close. Today we couldn't catch them in close. They weren't on the 45, 55 that.
Yeah.
So we fed out at 80 meters. It was actually 75 and one rod at 80, and that produced a little bit better.
Yeah. Look, you guys did well. You worked, when I say you did well, you're continuously in fish. I know this morning you battled a little bit, but once you got going, your rhythm was there, your pattern was there, and Aniki as well. I mean, Aniki really did well. At a stage, I was trying to guess, count what you guys were doing. I just said to Lapis, you know what, it doesn't actually matter, I try fish after people.
No,
I've got to try and figure out what's happening in front of me, try and figure out my own fish. And to those, youngsters, to go from a win at a Pro Mania to battling, first overall at Pro Mania, to battling on the next day, you've got to try and think on your feet. You've got to try and adapt as quick as you can. Not every spot's the same, we all know that. The fish are here, they were here to be caught. I made too many errors and I figured out too late what to do.
Well, that's it. Important thing, don't panic. Sit back, think about what you're doing, do what you're good at, and catch the fish with your eyes, where they're showing. And today it was a little bit difficult, but Dean, well done on perseverance. I think that's one of the big things that I always learn from Dean is perseverance. He gets a little bit uptight and so on, and he sits down and he just works through the things and he perseveres, and he always comes through at the end. Thank you for watching, Dean. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vanna. Safe travels home, man.
Thank you. Baie dankie Legends Pro Angling dat julle dit vir ons moontlik maak om hierdie volgende insetsel te hardloop. Vir die manne wat so lekker raai op Facebook, julle moet die stywe lyne hê en bel iemand wat een het, kry die regte antwoord, maak seker jy lees. Moenie raai ripa nie, moenie net agter die vorige ou aan antwoord nie, hy mag dalk nie reg wees nie. Party van hulle is reg, ander is nie. So daar is beslis een ou wat die grootste vis gevang het en julle moet nog sê wie hy is. Sy naam is, ek mag dit nie vir julle sê. Daar kry Jonathan 'n hartaanval daar agter die kamera. Okay, Christopher,
Yeah.
fishery management. Now, there's two things. You're on the fish farm at the moment. I'm not too sure exactly what you're doing and what the extent of your job is currently. Maybe we can start there and then just talk about fishery management. In South Africa at this stage, there are a lot of fisheries and syndicate dams, private venues, and the guys are starting to look after fish differently. They're starting to bring fish into the venues. There are suppliers of specific fish. They look after certain strains, and they are starting to feed. They've got feeding programs. And if we look at a venue like what's it called in Hungary?
Euro Aqua.
Euro Aqua. So those fish are monstrous fish that has been farmed. And some people say it's like caged lion hunting, but it's not. You still need skill, and those fish you just said, they become smart. So it's still a skill to catch them, but they are growing bigger and bigger because they're successful fishery management programs. So tell us about what you are doing and the program that you were part of at the Nile.
Okay, sure. I'm going to start off by crashing quickly through what we're doing on the farm. So on the farm, we are farming with tilapia predominantly, but we are also outgrowing some fantastic sumo strained carp, where we bring in the fingerlings, we outgrow them to a size where they can't get predated, and then once they reach the appropriate size, we put them into the venues, and once they get into the venues, they just rock it. I'm sure a couple of the viewers have seen some Facebook posts from Mega Carp International, etc. So we're really starting to move into a more European style angling market, which I'm so excited about. I've grown up watching all these videos from Corda and Fox, etc. overseas, and it's just amazing to see things finally starting to come together on this side. So what we do, the one is the fish farming side, as I mentioned. The other side is helping venue owners turn their farm dam, turn their body of water that they've got access to and control over, turn that thing into an income-producing asset. And the way you do that is, clearly there's a big market of anglers out there just like you guys and myself who really enjoy these venues. And if you look after your fish correctly, practice the correct fish care, provide the fish with the right nutrients that they keep growing. And one of the most important parts as well is controlling the amount of fish in the body of water.
Biomass control.
Biomass control. So just for the viewers quickly, to understand this principle, in the dam, there's a finite amount of food that the ecosystem is able to provide. Let's call it a ton of growth potential for a fish. And if you keep increasing the number of fish because they breed and they're not, you're not controlling the amount of stock in your dam, that biomass gets divided by the number of fish, which means each fish keeps getting smaller and smaller because there's not enough food and energy and protein available to help that fish grow. So it's very important for you to remove fish, your smaller fish, to allow your bigger fish to keep growing and growing year on year. The other thing, of course, is introducing feeding programs, because then you don't just rely on the natural food source that's available within the venue, you're supplementing it, and that's what allows you to create these super venues.
You mentioned tilapia. Do tilapia and carp eat the same things?
From a nutritional perspective?
No, if I put the pellets in the dam, is the tilapia going? What do you feed the tilapia?
So the biggest difference is, remember, on the fish farm side, in the aquaculture space, we are focused on growth, rapid growth. And that means also within a cost constraint, because it's a farmer. So for the tilapia, you can get away with some raw materials that you don't get away with the carp. And that's why you'll even see in the costing of the product that often the carb pellet is more expensive than the tilapia pellet.
Why is that?
Their protein demand is higher, firstly. And secondly, the quality of the raw materials that we put into the carb pellets is different to that of the tilapia. For the carb pellet, we're focusing a lot more on attraction and health, because the asset's useful life is longer. What do I mean? The carp itself, if you're doing this correctly, year on year, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. The bigger it gets, the more the venue owner can charge, and so forth. So the health component is very important. On the tilapia, it's also important, and it's also something that we focus on. But that tilapia's lifespan was always going to be 6 months, from when it was born to when it was slaughtered. And
okay, so that's more for fish for food production than
in our case, food production
for sport angling.
Correct. Where our carp feeds are more catered to the sport angling market. And how is it that we increase the growth rate as fast as possible whilst not negatively affecting the fish's health?
What is important? Let's talk about the Nile. We've got a couple of minutes for that.
Sure.
Let's talk about what happened at the Nile and what was the chronology that happened from where we started off to where we are today with quite a super fishery. I mean, in bags of 100 and 120 kilograms coming out close to winter.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so amazing for me to see what the venue's turned into, because, I've been along for the journey from the start. When we started at the Nile, we used to average about 2.2 to 2.4 kilograms as an average weight of fish. We're now in, October, in the month of October, we average closer to 6.5 kilos on the carp angling anyway, when we fish events there. And that's the two benchmarks I use because it's a lot of data that we can compare. And, it's just amazing to see year on year, by protecting a venue, ensuring that anglers, follow good practice, proper fish care, return their fish, you can just see the assets in your dam improve and improve and improve. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. We're planning on removing a number of the younger fish soon, which that whole biomass discussion we had earlier means that there's going to be a lot more food available to the fish. And then I'm expecting the bigger fish to really start taking off.
Okay, but now there's a couple of interesting things. So we fished at the Nile at the end of May, and we started off with a nice competition. In the morning, I fished against Dean. In the afternoon, I was demolished by Dean, and in the afternoon, Christopher continued that route, and I was beaten once again.
Only just the second.
Okay, I was a bit better because I learned something. So that specific thing. So the only difference, no, not the only, the biggest difference was in the morning I fished normal standard millibomb as we always do. And then I was competing with Dean that fished a brown millibomb full of this stuff.
Yeah.
Enhancer and pellets and everything.
Yeah.
And I caught, I think, 14 fish. He caught 16 fish or something like that, but his weight was almost double. So the average, so it was clear that the bigger fish picked out the better food. So then I learned that by adding this to your millibomb, it increased. So why does adding things like this increase the size of the fish caught? That's the important question.
I think it's a simple equation. So when you think of the younger fish, they don't need to eat as much in a day. So that whole conversation I had earlier around maximum feed or food nutritional return for least effort exerted, I think that the bigger fish are way more dependent on the nutrients because they've got a higher biomass themselves that they need to support. And for that reason, they're really looking for the high value nutritional foods. And with the pellets going into the Nile over time, the bigger fish have learned by now that the better food is the high protein food. And I think that's the reason why we saw that play out on our session that we did there.
But did you also find that because of the feeding program, the quality and the health of the fish has just improved?
Definitely. The health and quality of the fish has improved. The only negative at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit overstocked at the moment, which is resulting in these insane bags that we're catching. I do think that we're going to see a big difference in the quality of the fish the moment we start removing a lot of those younger fish.
I already saw a very interesting phenomenon. So, in the beginning of May, Dean caught a specific fish at the Nile at one of the Promanias, and it was a distinct mirror with a very nice scale pattern, and it weighed just over 7 kilos at the beginning of May. Now, the past weekend, I caught that exact same fish, and it's also now a Masters Promania record, and it weighed in at 9.3 in 2 months' time. So they're definitely starting bulking up for the winter.
100%. I think something else that's happening is the younger fish are starting to slow down because they don't need as much fish because their body weight is less that needs to be supported. And I think those bigger fish are really climbing into the food at the moment, that the youngsters aren't chasing them off the food the whole time.
Great. Okay, so kom ons gaan kyk 'n bietjie na 'n interessante wenk. Kom ons gaan luister. Wat kan ons doen om meer babers te vang? Nou, iets wat interessant was die afgelope naweek by die Nyl is nog 'n bietjie warmer. Daar het 'n hele paar mooi babers uitgekom, maar ook in Koppiesdam die afgelope week of 2 het Johan Donald gaan kuier daar en hulle het die groot babers, die 10, 12, 16 kg babers gevang die een na die ander. En so dis nie net warmer water daar in Polokwane se kant toe nie of Mokopane nie, dis ook die kouer water in Koppies. So die babers is nog aan die gang. So jy kan nog hierdie volgende naweek of 2 lekker babers gaan vang. Kyk na hierdie wenk.
Hier nou dik ding hier. Ek gaan mooi optel. Hey. Hey, daar sien nou. Okay, hierdie is officially die kleinste visie vir die dag. Hierdie goed eet nou lekker daar op my kol wat ek gebou het. Maar hierdie ding gaan nou baber aas raak. Sorry, chom, maar hier's groot babers en ek dink hierdie is hulle kos. Right, as jy 'n baber wil vang in 'n dam of in 'n rivier, en die rivier is dit raadsaam om 'n bietjie dikker lyn te gebruik. Ek gebruik sommer 7 pond lyn met so 3-4 lengtes leaderlyn. My strop, dis die groot belangrike ding hierso. Die sinkerlyn en die hoeklyn moet ewe lank wees. Wat dan gebeur is wanneer jy hom gooi deur die lug, dan draai die twee goed nie om mekaar en veroorsaak 'n kraanies en eintlik feitelik is sy hele effektiwiteit is dan daarmee heen. Wat gebeur is as jy hulle ewe lank maak, dan split die sinker en die kop in die lug wanneer jy hom gooi. En dan wanneer hy net voor hy die water tref, voor hy val, stop jy hom en dan sink hy so af tot op die bodem. En dan sleep die baber maar net hierdie sinkerlyn saam wanneer jy hom nou aan het. Dan sny vir jou 'n karpkop of 'n modderviskop of so iets. Hier het ek 'n klein karpkoppie. Werk vir my definitief die beste. 'n Klein koppie. 'n Groot kop werk ook. Baie mense sal sê hoe groter hoe beter. Ek persoonlik hou maar van 'n kleiner viskop. Dit werk net vir my beter en dit is so eenvoudig soos dit. Haar kom van onderaf deur beide die lippe, tussen deur die oë, laat hy daar uitkom. Hengel is 'n bloedsport. Dit is maar hoe dit werk as jy wil groot babers vang. En daai is die perfekte aas.
Baie dankie G2 Industries vir julle ondersteuning en dat julle hierdie volgende insetsel moontlik maak. Onthou ook dat al ons klerasie, ons bank anglers, stywelyne, Carb angler, hemde, baadjies, buffs, hoede, alles kom van G2 Industries af en jy kan op For Anglers se webwerf onder 'n parel gaan kyk en jou bestelling plaas. Jy kan die bestelling ook plaas met jou naam op. Gaan na 'n parel toe op For Anglers se webblad en bestel jou bank angler, stywelyne, Carb angler ensovoorts hem. Die volgende ding wat ons gaan weggee, ek gaan gou vir julle sê waar is die antwoord. Die antwoord is in die stywelyne, 'n interessante artikel wat Shamaine vir ons geskryf het oor hulle besoek aan die NSRI. En ek gaan nou die vraag vra, maar ek gaan eers vir Christopher 'n kans gee om vir ons te vertel wat ons weggee en hoe gebruik jy dit?
Awesome. All right, guys. So the first products that we're going to be giving away are our carb pellets. These are tried and tested. You guys will be seeing hopefully soon with the video coming out just how effectively these products work. The way you would be using it is you'd be using the True Feed Enhancer when you make your ground bait. So the way I do it normally is I'll add some warm water into a container. I'll stir this enhancer into that water, and I'll make my ground bait the way we normally do. Using the type of maize-based ground bait you enjoy, be it a Coniflex product or whatever the case may be. And thereafter, I'll include the pellets. So effectively what's happening here is the enhancer is giving the cloud effect in the water and the quick release fats and oils and scents, where the pellets are lying there on the bottom, that throughout your angling day, as you continue fishing, the bigger fish hang around picking up the bigger particles. So you definitely want to consider putting this in your bait if you're chasing a bigger bag weight. I didn't mention how much. We'll be giving away 6 kilograms of pellets and 2 bags of True Feed Enhancer.
Nou ja, daardie video wat Christopher van praat is 'n lekker hengel video gewees wat ons gemaak het by die Nyl. En hy sal deur die loop van hierdie week beskikbaar wees op Full Anglers se YouTube kanaal. Jy kan hom daar gaan kyk. Presies hoe hierdie aangemaak word, Christopher het al die geheime met ons gedeel in die eerskomende maand, Julie maand se digitale tydskrif. Is daar 'n interessante artikel oor die Nyl. Hy sal ook in die gedrukte uitgawe later uitkom en daar is 'n storieetjie waar Christopher presies vir ons wys hoe om hierdie te gebruik. En jy kan hom saam met enige van jou grondvoere, jou gunsteling grondvoer vat en dit is amper vir my soos pudding. So you have it with every meal. So it's just something on top. It doesn't replace ground bait.
It is boosting your ground bait, okay. Boosting the attraction.
Okay, nou, ons gaan hom dit weggee, 'n lekker pakkie of 2 daarvan met enhancer. En die vraag is, en hierdie is op Facebook, so this is for our Facebook viewers. With Charmaine's visit at the NSRI, that is the Nasionale Seereddingsinstituut, that's the guys that does excellent work in terms of keeping our waters safe out at sea, out at the dams. They're not only in the oceans, they are also in some of the dams. Nou, Charmaine het 'n baie spesifieke stasie. Nou, hoe die NSRI werk, hulle het spesifieke stasies, so hulle het sulke basisse. En elke basis het sy eie naam, maar is 'n nommer. So, is 'n nommer 1 en 'n nommer 12 en 'n nommer 16 en elke ene het ons het. Jy kan ook as jy die NSRI ondersteun, dan doen jy byvoorbeeld 'n spesifieke donasie vir stasie 16 of 23. Die een is by Valdam en die een is by Harties en die ander so. So Charmaine hulle het 'n spesifieke stasie gaan besoek en ek wil weet wat is daardie stasie se nommer? En dit is die antwoord vir jou om deel te wees van die wiel wat ons gaan draai aan die einde van die program. Nou ja, kom ons gesels 'n bietjie verder oor hoe ons daai gebruik en wat maak dit om 'n hengel? Jy het vir ons min of meer verduidelik hoe gebruik ons dit. But how does that impact on my angling and how does it change the way I think about strategy? And how does it impact? I know how it impacted my angling now at the Nile. Mm-hmm. There was an interesting comment passed. So at the end of the first day on Saturday, Ruzani sat next to me and I won the zone on Saturday and he came to me, he came over the afternoon and I said, so what happened? He said, no, he made a couple of mistakes. I said, so what was it that you made the mistake with? He said, this morning, I underestimated the impact of the amount of pellets in my feed. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it would make such a big difference. And I changed that in the afternoon. And he had quite a comeback in the afternoon. And on the second day, I think he was second in his zone. He had like a big bag of fish.
Okay.
Okay, so tell us about how does it impact my angling?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been talking a lot about the conventional side. I think in summary on the conventional side, I mean, I've spoken about the fact that putting in the pellets means that throughout the day, your average weight of fish starts picking up as the bigger fish come in onto your spot and you hold them. But something else to consider for the carp anglers is it's been the first time for me that I've found a way to consistently improve the average weight of my fish. Because by putting in a higher quality product, as we mentioned earlier, those bigger fish really seem to hone in on the spot and stay on the spot and frequently return to the spot. In a perfect world, if I was after a really big carp out of even public waters that are available, I would love to have the time available. Unfortunately, I've been putting all of my time into this company over the last 18 months and product development. But I would love to get the opportunity to go and try this out on one of our big wild waters and putting in large quantities over long periods of time, or even maybe like 5 kilograms of pellets a day, but consistently in the same place for about a week and a half, that you just give those fish a chance to get used to the pellet. Yeah, they're not used to this product because most anglers in the country are not using it. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen there, because I've clearly seen what's happening at the Nile. And I've got no doubt that it's going to work. Something else that this is an opportunity to invest in the future of angling for your kids by using these higher quality, higher protein products. We are learning so much over time how important it is to look after fish health, and the vitamins and nutrients and micronutrients that we're including are straight from the aquaculture industry, and they really, really help the fish fight off all sorts of infections and things like that traditionally might result in mortalities. The other thing that's happening is you as an angler make a choice by using a product like this to invest in bigger fish for your kids in the future. If we as anglers, as many anglers out there stand together and decide that we're going to use a product like this, our kids are going to be catching 10, 15 kilo fish in venues where we're catching 4, 5 kilo fish today. And, it's anybody can go online and see what's happening in Europe. And you'll clearly see what happens when you start introducing higher quality food and a little bit of fishery management. We hope to spread that knowledge with many, many people out there, that everybody can succeed.
In terms of applying it to different species, what happens with things like muddies, yellows, tilapia, we know eat it as well, barbel, would they eat it?
Yeah.
Would the barbel bother me in the summer when I feed too much of this? What happens?
Okay, so in the summer months, I would definitely expect this product to attract barbel.
Because of the fish meal.
Because of the high fish meal content. I mean, this product has got about 40 to 50% fish meal in it, which for the conventional angler is no problem, because in their event, if they catch 5 barbel in the middle of the day in between their carp, they're over the moon with that. For the carp anglers, it is something for you to think about. I've seen using the product even in the warmer months in the Nile, that the carp come and push the barbel off the spot. They really do. You might catch 3 or 4 barbel in a row, and then all of a sudden the barbel are gone and you hammer the carp.
Especially the bigger ones.
Especially the bigger ones. But I would say in the venues where guys battle heavily with barbel, they should definitely maybe consider using this more in the winter months and definitely in the spring. As I mentioned earlier, we've seen clearly in the past that the fish really want that high protein food as they're preparing for the spawn. That's also when you've got your carp, your females at their maximum weights, which a lot of guys want to target.
Okay, but I've got another question. So if that's what they want to eat, and that's in my ground bait, the enhancer, and I'm feeding the pellets and they are all over there, why would they take my hook bait? And how do I get them to take my hook bait?
Sure. Okay. You're putting me in a spot to give away some of the trade secrets here, eh? But I've got no problem doing that. You can always apply a little bit of the enhancer to a puppy or to a doe, and that way you'll be matching the hatch a bit better. In the future, I'm also very excited. We've got some projects on the horizon. There's a new plant that we have paid the deposit on today, which I'm over the moon about. And that new plant is going to produce super, super high quality pellets. And once we've got that available, we'll be launching some hook baits as well. and then you'll be 100% matching the hatch. And I've got no doubt that that's going to work very effectively.
How long? We've tried, when we were at the Nile the last day, we did some feeder fishing and hair rigging and putting specific baits onto an elastic band was quite important. So that's how we caught them. So we had those little wafters, the dumbbell wafters, and they were more or less the same size as these. And then we said, let's try this. And we put some of these pellets on the bands and we caught some fish.
Yeah.
How long will this pellet stay in the water before it dissolves?
Okay, so we've done a number of tests. We expect 10 to 24 hours depending on the water temperature. So in warmer water, it does break down a little bit faster. But most of the time, we average about 18 hours before pellet dissolves.
Okay, so I can put it onto the hook.
For sure, you can.
Can't put it onto the hook, but you need to put it onto an elastic band.
Onto an elastic band. Something else for the guys to think about is when you drill the pellet out and you try to use it as a hook bait on a hair rig, you let the water into the center. It comes in
sealed,
and in that way, it speeds up the rate of the pellet breaking down. So I would recommend going the elastic band route for sure. That would definitely be my recommendation. But with the new products that we can make with the new extruder on the way, I'm sure we're going to be able to do all sorts of new and interesting things.
But it's actually quite easy to have that. I use the Stonfo elastic band, so it's quite easy. So you apply it with either a little funnel or you apply it with a bander.
Yeah.
So you just take it, open the elastic, put the pellet in, close it up, and then on the other side, it's just got a little hole. So you just slide it over a normal hook.
Yeah,
you can use just a normal 2 or 3, put the pellet on the band and slide it over and position it exactly where you want it.
Yeah, while I was watching it, the Nile, it was very interesting to see all the cool tricks you have up your sleeve.
And you can apply it to normal bank angling. You don't.
For sure. Well, I know that some people are applying it to normal bank angling and it's working quite well for them.
Well, that's good. So, Christopher, the last thing is, where can we get this?
Okay, so we literally just getting out into the stores now. You can contact Dean Pelser, my father, to order directly from him in the short term, but we are actually getting Coniflex to do our nationwide distribution. So we're just finalizing our packaging and we can expect that to launch pretty soon, which I'm very excited about because that's going to take a lot of our headaches away.
100%. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing quite a lot of information with us.
No problem.
So dit is dit. Ons weet ons visse moet lekker eet en ons moet vir hulle lekker kos gee. Nou, hoe kry ons daai kos daar ver? So nou gaan ons Rodeplaat dam toe of Harties toe en ek wil 'n pak pellets daar binnekant kry. So hoe doen ek dit? En daar's 'n paar maniere. Ek kan hulle gooi, ek kan hulle spom, ek kan hulle binne in my bol sit en 'n paar verskillende maniere doen. Of ek gryp 'n boot soos hierdie Boatman ZI Actor basic. This is a nifty little boat. Eh?
Beautiful.
It's got a hopper in here that can take basically 1 kilogram. So I can put half of that in here, drive to my spot, dump it. Maar ons het een van ons korrespondente wat spesialiseer in die, kom ons noem dit, die lekker visvang, die kuier langs die dam. Ons noem hom Rian Alleman en hy kuiter vir die sosiale ouens daar buitekant. Hy gaan van dam na dam en oord na oord en hy kuier met almal, hy maak lekker kos en hy is ons ouetjie wat kyk na haasbote. So kom ons gaan kyk, wat het hy gesê van die Actor Basic haasboot.
Hallo julle, dis Rian hier so. Ek is hier om julle 'n bietjie meer te vertel van die Boatman Actor haasbootjie. En kom ons begin sommer aan sy buitekant. Dan wys ek vir julle 'n paar van sy funksies. As jy hom van voor af kyk, met die dubbel kajuit, en ek moet vir julle sê, dit help nogal baie, vir as jy 'n bietjie rowwe water kry, dan hou dit hom bietjie in balans, want ek moet sê, hierdie ouetjie is nogal klein, en ek dink as hy dit nie gehad het nie, sou hy maklik omgeval het. Dan as hy hom van bo af kyk, dan het jy die plek waar jy jou voerballe insit met jou hoeklyntjies. In die middel kan jy vir jou lekker aas saamvat om te voer. Jy kan sy pensie lekker vol maak. En as jy hom van agteraf kyk, het hy die twee motortjies, hulle is omhul, so wat dit ideaal maak is, hy hanteer lekker in grasareas waar jou damme baie gras het, en jy het nie 'n probleem waar jy met jou ander bootjies sit, waar die motortjies nie goed koek nie. So ek dink dit is baie oulik van hulle. En dan is hy ook verskriklik lig, en as jou dam byvoorbeeld 'n diep kant het waar jy moet hom insit, is dit baie maklik om hom net op te tel soos 'n aktetassie, en jy dra hom, en dit is regtig voortreffelik. Ok, nou gaan ons 'n bietjie kyk na die Boatman Actor, hoe om hom aan te sit, hoe om jou remote te aktiveer, dis nogal redelik belangrik. Heel eerste, maak jy hom oop, soos ek nou vir julle gewys het, hier is sy skakelaartjie. Jy sit hom aan, jy maak hom toe, trek hom mooi terug in plek, hy is dan waterdig. As jy hier boop kyk, jy weet nie of jy nou mooi kan sien, gee jy jou batterysterkte vir jou, van 10% tot 100%, hy is daar nog op 80%, en ek moet vir julle sê, dit is nadat ek omtrent al 'n hele dag gery het, so hy hou regtig sy batterylewe baie goed. Dan gaan ons na sy afstandbeheerder toe. As die bootjie nou aangesit is, vat jy die onderste knoppie, hou hom in, totdat jy die gepiep hoor. Daar is hy. Nou weet jy jou bootjie en jou afstandbeheerder is gekonnekteer. Dit is baie maklik. Dit is vorentoe, agtertoe, links en regs. Hierso is jou aasbakkie vir die middel, dan val jou aasbolle uit. Daarso is jou aasbakkie vir agter om jou aas af te laai. As jy nie aandry en jy wil sien hoe die bootjie terugkom, dan het jy die knoppie wat vir jou die liggies aansit, dan sit jou voorste liggie aan, soos hy wegry, het jy jou agterste liggies aan, en hulle sit hierso op die bootjie. Dit is twee rooi liggies, en dan kan jy ook sien, wanneer jou aas afgelaai is, dan flikker hulle vir jou om te wys, daai aasbakkie het oopgemaak, en ek gaan sommer nou gou vir julle die knoppie druk, en kan julle sien wat ek bedoel. Daar is hy ry vorentoe, daar gaan die aasbakkie oop, en dan om die middelstene oop te maak, dan kom net so 'n bietjie vir julle draai, trek hierdie ene, en daar val jou aas uit. Jy hoef niks vir toe te maak nie, hy ry net so terug, hy hou sy balans, en sodra hy terug is op land, is dit baie maklik, jy maak die deurtjie toe, jy draai hom terug, wat ons gevind het, jy draai sommer die bootjie om, jy sit net die deksteltjie neer, jy druk weer die knoppie, en hy maak hom outomaties toe, en dit is ons Boatman Actor. Ek hoop julle geniet hom, vir die van julle wat vol anglers volg, julle weet hy is natuurlik daarom gewend te word, en dit is verseker 'n lekker prys om te wen.
Nou ja, ons gaan daardie aasboot weggee binne die volgende paar minute, maar kom ons kyk gou wie was van ons vorige wenners gewees wat alreeds hulle produkte ontvang het met die vriendelike en goeie diens van JKJ Express Couriers. Die eerste ouetjie, Bertie Jacobs, wat sy Legends hamper gekry het, baie geluk, geniet hom en lekker hengel daarmee. Dan een van ons gereelde ouetjies wat altyd wen, hy moet so nou en dan in die koelkas gaan sit, want hy is altyd daar voor en hy ken altyd al die antwoorde, sy naam is Rory O'Connor, en hy het hierdie keer die tackle secure houers gewen vir sy, veral vir die seehengel toepassing. En dan, Chantel Miller het die Bass hamper gewen en sy het haar dogter Eldenay gestuur om hierdie prys te ontvang en sy is altyd een wat langs die water is. So, die Miller gesin het 'n nuwe ontwikkelingsarea en hulle is nou besig om te leer hoe om bass te vang. So, hulle gaan nou in die stywelyne al die artikels oor baarsengel lees en die prys wat hulle gewen het, ook die vorige keer, sy het so meer as 4 weke terug ook 'n bass hamper gewen met 'n stok en katrol. Hierdie keer was dit het was nie noodwendig bass nie, maar dit was kunsaas wat weggegee is en sy het daai prys gewen. So Eldenay het hom ontvang vandag. Nou ja, nou is dit tyd vir weggee. Ek hoop daar is genoeg ouens en ek hoop jou naam is in die hoed of in die wiel. Ons gaan die 3 pryse trek vir die hampers. Hierdie ene, daardie ene en daardie ene. En dan ons groot prys, die Actor Basic aasboot van Boatman ZA gaan ons dan weggee vir 'n gelukkige wenner. Onthou, daardie kompetisie het gesluit vanmiddag. Jy moes 'n jaarlikse For Anglers lid wees en jy moes jou naam gaan opgee het op die post. Nou ja, kom ons kyk. Die eerste kompetisie wat ons gehardloop het vir die Supercast hamper. En die vraag was, wie het die grootste grootbek geelvis gevang vir die dag in Bernard Venter se artikel by Van der Kloof? En die antwoord waarvoor ons gesoek het was Gerrit Wettering. En daar's die 10 name in die hoed en ons gaan spin en ons gaan vir Christopher vra om vir ons die wenner aan te kondig.
Pieter Jan de Kok, congratulations.
Ek wil jou baie interessante storie vertel van Pieter Jan de Kok. Ek weet sy naam is ook in die hoed vir die aasboot, want hy het ook hernie weer as 'n jaarlikse lid. Hy sê sy aasboot is in flarde. Ja, hy stikken. So hy het 'n nuwe aasboot nodig en dis hoekom hy ingeskryf het vir die Actor Basic. Hy bly daar op die grens iewerster in die bokant van Limpopo waar die krokodille lekker baie is. Sy vorige aasboot is geëet deur 'n krokodil.
Yeah, I've seen him chasing the spom a few times, so it's definitely a risky one.
Okay, baie geluk Pieter Jan de Kok. Jy het vir jouself 'n lekker hampertjie van Supercast gewen met 'n Predator liggie vir jou koplampie, dat jy kan sien waar die krokodille daar langs die rivier skuil en 'n lekker skaaf van Kingfisher. Baie geluk, dit sal afgelewer word vir jou deur JKJ Express. Die tweede kompetisie was ons YouTube kompetisie en die vraag was hoe swaar is die nuwe wêreldrekord vlieghengelkarp. Die antwoord waarvoor ek gesoek het is 13.97 kg. Dis 'n massive karp om te vang op vlieg. Arties, daar waar hulle lekker bloedwurm eet, hoë proteïen kos. Spin hom, laat ons sien.
Awesome, there we go. Pieter Delaray, congratulations.
Ons bly by die Pieters vanaand. As my naam Pieter was, het ek nou die lotto gespeel. Die derde kompetisie op Facebook, so Pieter Delaray, daar is vir jou 'n lekker hamper van Legends Pro Angling, ook met 'n liggie en 'n Big Daddy Baits buff. Die volgende vraag is op Facebook gewees weer en die vraag was, by watter stasie van die NSRI het Charmaine hulle gaan kuier tydens hulle besoek? Die antwoord waarvoor ek gesoek het was stasie 40 en ons het 10 name in die wiel en kom ons kyk wie is die wenner. Yes, how's that for margin?
Awesome, congratulations, Christian Verster. Forgive me. Congratulations.
In Engels sou dit Verster gewees het. Christian Verster, jy het vir jouself 'n paar pakke van daai pellets en enhancer gekry en gaan maak seker jy kyk ons video sodat of jy lees die artikel in die digitale uitgawe, die Julie uitgawe van die Oeverhengelaar wat digitaal op For Anglers beskikbaar is, of die Augustus uitgawe wat bietjie later uitkom en op die rak sal wees in die gedrukte weergawe, waar Christopher vir ons al die geheime vertel oor hoe om het jou voorhand te maak daarmee. Nou, vir die groot prys. And here I would like to thank Barry Tron of Bateman ZA and his counterparts and manufacturers of this Bateman ZA Anchor Basic. Now remember, just go and have a look on his website. You can still go to the For Anglers Facebook page, go and look at the post that was pinned to the top. There's the link that takes you through to the Bateman ZA website, and you can go and view all the different models that are there. There's quite a few different models. Nou, van hierdie basiese model af, reg op tot die ouetjie met die fish finder op en die werke. We have a couple of members that are annual members that entered this competition and said they would like to be the proud owner of an Actor Basic bait boat. Now, let us put those names into the wheel.
Congratulations, dear Sir Lawrence.
Meneer Lawrence, daar van Bloemhof af. So jy kan jou ase gaan gooi in die rivier of in die dam en jy kan jou boot geniet. Baie geluk. Jy kry hierdie spesifieke bootjie. Nou onthou nou, hierdie is nou 'n pre-loved boot. Ons het hom gebruik. Rian het hom reeds gaan toets, so ons weet hy werk. Ons weet hy vang vis, ons weet hy kan genoeg aas indra en hy is in goeie toestand en hy is reeds geliefd en ingewy. So, daar sy, geniet hom. Hy word aan jou gestuur met die komplimente van JKJ Express. Die laaste kompetisie wat ons het volgende week, maar ons members kompetisie wil ek net vir julle introduce. Ons kan kyk na die prys. Elke maand vir die volgende paar maande nog gee ons hierdie pragtige stand weg wat Johan Mostert vir ons gegee het. So, daar gaan nog 5 van hulle wees elke maand. So jy kan gerus vir Johan Mostert kontak en jy kan vir jouself ook so stand bestel. So dit is ook 'n lede, is 'n familieprys. Met ander woorde, jy moet deel wees van die For Anglers gesin om daardie prys te wen. En ons gaan hom trek volgende week Dinsdag live hier. En ons sal nog vir julle sê watter kategorie van lede ons vat. Nou, julle weet, ons breek dit so 'n bietjie op. Dan vat ons die annuals, dan vat ons almal wat aktief was op die site vir die laaste 2 weke, dan vat ons 'n junior groep en so gaan ons deur al die verskillende kategorieë. So die belangrikste deel is, jy moet net deel wees van die familie, dan kry jy een of ander tyd 'n beurt om deel te wees van die wenspan. Nou ja, baie dankie aan Gys Pelser en Orion Audio Visual, as ook ons borge van ons insetsels, Supercast, Legends en G2. Dankie vir julle betrokkenheid en dankie dat julle dit vir ons moontlik maak dat ons met die kykers kan gesels. Die laaste ding wat ons dan het om te doen is om dat ons net julle moet asseblief mense, hier in Gauteng is dit op die oomblik redelik kwaai. Die COVID laat bitter min mense wegkom. So wees asseblief versigtig. Ons hengel, as julle gaan kyk na wat Andries gesê het, ons kan hengel vir al die pro-reeks het klapkompetisies kan aangang in die grense van die verskillende provinsies, veral Gauteng, maar wees asseblief versigtig. As julle uit is buitekant, dra julle maskers, maak seker julle sanitize. Hierdie jou virusie is erg, maar hy is eintlik baie maklik om te beheer. Jy moet net seker maak, jy bly veilig. So, daar sy, en ek kan ook seker maak dat jy dit doen. En dan sê ek vir Christopher, baie dankie. Dit is die winter, en hier is vir jou 'n lekker fles van For Anglers Live.
That wasn't expected, thank you.
Wat, om vir jou te sê, baie dankie vir die tyd en die moeite wat jy gedoen het om saam met ons te kom kuier. Jy kan hom saamvat as jy jou lang karp sessies, waar ook al jy daai pellets gaan ingooi en groot karpe gaan vang. Jy kan jou koffie warm hou.
Thank you very, very much.
Of jou
Appreciate it.
roomyskoute. Julle net nie saam in sit nie.
Fair enough.
Okay, baie dankie. En tot volgende week Dinsdag wanneer ons weer verder kuier op For Anglers Live.